Kaustubha Das here with the big announcement for Wisdom of the Sages listeners. This August will be Ashram Month at the Super Soul Farm. Simple ashram living, rising early, morning kirtan, yoga and pranayama, healthy vegan and vegetarian meals, farm seva and being immersed in nature, and then gathering in the evenings for kirtan and readings. Plus, each week we'll have a lead presenter teaching a different facet of the philosophy and lifestyle of Bhakti-yoga. Week number 1 will be the exceptional Bhakti Lata teaching a course called The Beauty of Bhakti, bringing the culture of love and devotion into our lives. Week number 2 is my brother from another mother, Raghunath, teaching Falling in Love with Divinity, the Bhakti-yogi's method for opening the heart. And week number 3 is myself with a course called Following the Path, examining the history and teachings of Bhakti-yoga. You can come for 1, 2, or all 3 weeks, and the pricing is by donation. For more dates and information, go to wisdomofthesages.com/events. Peace.
Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday's Srimad Bhagavatam study.
It's more of a show than a study, really, I think.
It's more of a show. Put on a show.
We're
putting on a show for you. And it makes people feel like, well, this is something educational. We're studying, but it's really just a show. You're just here for the entertainment. I know that. It's an entertaining show. It's, what do they call that?
Educational show.
No, they call it
edutainment.
Edutainment. It's edutainment. I'll be your entertainment for today, and Kaustubha will be your educational facet, and Mara will just sit around answering our trivia questions. Good morning. I'm ready to start unmuting people and see what they've learned. So get ready today. Today is unmute day.
Whoa.
You might be called out. Look at Chapu. She's getting nervous.
Our numbers are going down right now. The
everyone's like,
numbers are just like shooting.
Everyone's
right
going to put their black screen on right now so we can't see their faces. Well, get ready. I see you, and I'm coming after you. And it's not just you, Karuna. It's all your friends around you. Ariana, Jeff Eisenberg, Nancy R.
How these things pop into Rogu's head. I'm sure that just popped in your head in that instant, and now that's where we're going.
That's where we're going. I'm the rudder. They call me the rudder. Okay,
Rudderless.
Prabhu.
I think.
What? All right. Anyway, guess what?
What?
My son cut off his beautiful hair. He's on the boys' tour. The boys' devotee kid teenager tour. He's in northern Florida, where there's it's like the Mecca of the Hare Krishnas. And in northern Florida, he's down there with like 20, 25.
Starting the tour there?
Starting their tour, traveling around America, a bunch of teenage boys chanting Hare Krishna around America. And they cut off all his blonde hair.
He was like Roger Daltrey or something like that. He had big, long, curly blonde
sort of
hair. Beautiful.
But you can tell, you get invested in your hair. And sort of like cutting it off is sort of like, it breaks like a little attachment.
It does.
And my daughter just flew out. She's going to go to your house. She's actually took the train to New York City. Kaustubha's going to cook her lunch today. Going to cook her lunch, Kaustubha and Gita. Then they're going to fly to Germany to visit his German mother and grandmother.
Did you feel the empty nest syndrome?
I do feel the empty nest syndrome today. I do.
You still got Tarun.
No, he
can
Michigan.
Fill out a nest. If any kid can fill out a nest, Tarun can do it.
He's in Michigan with my wife.
Oh, okay. So it is an empty nest.
We're going to
have to all come and
nest.
visit you.
That's what we're doing this weekend, everybody. That's the announcement.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Harrison's coming to sing this weekend. Guess who else is coming up? Doyle Garunga and Rasika.
Oh,
I think Jai Jagannath might show up.
Okay.
We're going to have a party. It's a 4th of July party going on.
Well, when Jai Jagannath comes, it becomes a party. He's a dancer,
He's a dancer, man. He will be spinning around. And you're all invited. We want you here. This is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take these mundane holidays and Krishnaize them. Instead, anybody out there ever have a degrading 4th of July? It can get real low real quick.
Get
keg
drunk,
of beer, a shotgun,
fall over the barbecue,
hit
someone with a bottle rocket.
Happens. It's just going to be high vibe 4th of July. We're doing like 4 hours of kirtan on the 4th. It's going to be great. Kirtan. We got
Indian street food.
Indian street food by Krishna's Kitchen. Mara's making the vegan meatball subs. It's a party.
Okay. So where do people go if they want to come? What do they do?
wisdomofthesages.com, and then you click on the Sage Academy. Sage Academy, because there is some type of educational facet to this retreat.
There will be.
Stuba will speak on very educational things, while I'll be leading people in volleyball.
Yeah, actually, it's a whole weekend retreat. It's got courses and classes and kirtans and talks and all of that. But then, especially on that, on the 3rd, we kind of have our 4th of July celebration, and we'll do a little hanging out, having fun too.
Yeah.
But you go there to sign up, wisdomofthesages.com, and to the Sage Academy menu item, and then it says 4th of July, first annual 4th of July celebration or something.
When
festival.
are you allowed to call it like the second annual? Can you say
second
the
year
annual?
the second
if you say the first annual, like it just could end. It's almost like saying if the name of our show Wisdom of the Stage is established 2022. That's like now. But you're right.
It indicates something, right?
It indicates like we're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna keep doing it. Okay. So you can be on the ground floor of this.
Okay. So you could say I was at the first one. Mara, are there any announcements today?
Yeah, we have a Bhakti recovery group. Men meet at 11 today, and the women at 2.
That's that old Tuesday split them up day.
That's right. There's also an asana class for Patreon members with Ariel Castillo this morning after the show at 7:15.
We like her, Ariel. Yeah. She's cool.
And tomorrow evening, Lauren Baptiste is offering an Ayurveda workshop at 7 p.m.
Oh, she's wonderful too.
Yes.
Oh, I want to make an announcement. Madhu is not coming out. We are doing a Kirtan Academy, but filling in for Madhu is Seth Lieberman. Seth Lieberman, my friend. So Madhu had some issue. He couldn't come. I'm going to miss him. But Seth is so fun and amazing. He's going to be singing. He's going to be singing Kirtan this weekend too. All right. So excited for that. And Damodar Pri and Bobby Marchand are also going to assist with that course. Cool. So if you're still interested in that, same thing, Sage Academy. Kirtan School, we're calling it. All different levels are welcome. We got people who are brand new, and then we got people who are already leading kirtans on their own. Very excited.
All right.
We got ready for nugget, my friend.
Yeah.
Here we go in Nugget World.
I think you got to describe this nugget because it's a visual nugget.
This is a visual nugget. Yes, it is. Kaustubha's nugget. Here he goes. So it's sort of like, ever see like those recycling circle arrows, like in a circle? Mm-hmm. There's a person, there's like an avatar of or emoji of a guy with his hand over his head. Do you ever use that emoji, the guy with his hand over his head? Like
that, what does that emoji mean? Like, oh no, like, or something like that?
Oh, what have I done?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
It's sort of like that. And it starts, why does this always happen to me? Like that. Oh, why does this always happen to me? So he's got his hand over his face, and around him are those arrows. And
kind of like the top of the arrow, at 12 o'clock. Yeah, at 12 o'clock.
At 12 o'clock, it says, I get born. And at 3 o'clock, it says, I forget my true identity. And at 6 o'clock, it says, I get caught up in the drama of material reality. And then at 9 o'clock, it says, my human avatar expires before I learn all my lessons. And back, I get born.
And then back to 12 o'clock, I get born again.
Yeah.
So that's the cycle of birth and death.
Here's what it actually looks like here if you want to. I'm going to repost it on my Instagram today, matter of fact.
Okay. So let's say that again, right? It says, why does this always happen to me? Right? Yeah. I get born. Yeah. I forget my true identity. I get caught up in the drama of material reality. It could have also said material illusion, right? But
well, let's start with 3 o'clock here.
Okay, let's start with 3 o'clock.
Let's start with like we don't have to go any
getting
farther
born. Like okay,
I get born. Okay, we're like, hey, happy birthday, or look, oh my God, congratulations, you just had a kid. Okay, so you get born, and then you start layering on different identity, huh? And we've done it. I know the phases I've gone through when I was 5. I really wanted to be I was like fascinated with war as a child. I wanted to be in the army.
I mean, even before you get there, right? It's like you're a boy or you're a girl, you're black or you're white, you're from this American, you're European, right? All those things.
European, American, Asian, whatever. You get some material. I'm a redhead, right? That must have been a big thing for Kelly Skinner. I got red hair. We got red hair. You know what I mean? Some people get really into their color hair or something like that. curly hair, whatever. You have some like little kid identity. And then you take it to a next level. I like sports. I'm into baseball. I'm into soccer. I'm into football. You know what I mean? And you develop like a sport identity. Mara, what was your childhood identity?
I
You
don't
better.
know. I used to play softball and field hockey. What's that?
You better have one.
Or she
Nothing.
I was into sports.
You were into sports. She was field hockey. What else? Volleyball. You said
Softball.
Softball. What position
I
did you
can see
play?
her. I can do her high. I can see her doing high speed.
Were you a pitcher?
No, I was a catcher and third base.
Oh,
I could see you being a catcher.
Both tough positions. Both tough positions. Yeah, I just, anyway.
Did you shout down the batter?
No.
That's only guys do cruel things like that.
Catchers don't do that so much. They gotta.
Oh, are you kidding?
Oh, catchers.
Batter. Swing. So cruel. It was like the cruelest sport. Europeans are like, what are you talking about? It's a thing. We be cruel to the batters. Okay. All right. So anyway, false identity, university, metalhead, preppy, PA, whatever you are, in IT student, you get some identity. All right. Okay. You're lost in that identity. You take it on, you change the costumes maybe a dozen times before you hit
What's the Sanskrit
25.
word for that, Raghunath, for these false identities?
Samsara?
No. Samsara is this whole cycle, right?
False identities?
Yeah.
False identities? Ahamkara?
Well, ahamkara is what produces, it's the mechanism that produces those false identities. But
you hot seated me?
I'm hot. So you should know this one. Come on, you know it. I know you know it.
Well, I can't think what you're thinking. There's a lot of things to think.
Upadis, right?
Oh, I didn't know that, truthfully.
You didn't know that?
No.
Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam.
All right. Upadi.
Yeah, false identities that we adopt as we
Okay, well, wait a second now, because guess what's happening? And some of you, this has happened much quicker than others. Sometimes it's happened to you at 14. Sometimes it's even had a cool stretch to 18. Sometimes you've even made it to 25. And here's 6 o'clock. I get caught up in the drama of material reality.
I mean, even that happens, like you always talk about your days in school, Raghunath, right? It's just like
I was caught up in material. Yeah, I was in drama from childhood. It was dramatic. Some kids have it like they skate through, no drama. And then all of a sudden something happens in puberty. It's just like the drama hormones kick in and they get dramatic. And sometimes it's big drama. Sometimes it's big drama. It's not just like my boyfriend broke my heart and my girlfriend cheated on me or whatever like that. It's like Maha drama. Like run for your life. Our country's collapsing or getting taken over by another country.
It can be like
That's real drama. That happens all the time.
Yeah. But one way or another, we get caught up in the drama. And it's this 9 o'clock that really, it gives us the clue of what this is all about, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of stages. There is 7, 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock that we've not mentioned, but the big 9 o'clock, the big hands, the big markers on the compass. My human avatar expires before I learn all my lessons.
Now,
a lot of the times I don't even realize they're lessons. It's just like, well, I'm doing it wrong. I just got to adjust it. You don't have to adjust it. You got to adjust your internal identity. That's what we have to adjust.
Yeah, well, it's just showing like the whole point is that we're here to learn some lessons, right? Like that's what life is all about.
I know, but we think the learning of the lessons, just adjusting things of the material world.
We'll try to avoid the lessons.
There's one big Maha lesson I'm forgetting, that the material body is temporary. Forgot that lesson.
And then what happens?
The avatar expires without me learning my lessons. And then I'm back to 12 o'clock.
I get born again.
I get born again in a new identity.
A whole different identity. Yeah.
Completely convinced that the carcass is me.
Yeah.
David House was driving with his friend in the car. His friend's like, what kind of podcast is it? I thought you said this was on Indian cooking. Has anybody dragged a friend to this podcast?
We're getting some nods.
Guinevere's is like, yeah, a few. They not my friends anymore.
Kerna's like, no, I don't have any friends like that.
All right.
I like that though, right?
I like that too. It's hard to do a visual podcast, a visual nugget, but I hope you guys
get it.
Thought of that.
Yeah. So we're going around in that circle. Hey, let's learn the lessons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Otherwise, we come back. We get another chance.
Hey, Kaustubha, I got a. It's not a hot seat. It's actually a philosophical question.
Okay.
Sometimes people get really into this stuff. They get really excited about this stuff. They do all the appropriate things on this path. They hear, they listen to the Bhagavatam. They start to, hey, I want to get some beads. I want to get an Indian dress or a Indian kurta. They go through, they visit a temple, perhaps. They start chanting in the morning time. They regulate their diets, and they say, wait a second. Is this just some weird cult? Am I in a weird cult? And then,
well, right when we started about getting in a weird cult, I swear I didn't mute him. It wasn't me. Oh no, we lost him. Okay, I don't know where Raghunath was going with that.
Did I freeze?
You froze. You said, "Am I in a weird cult?"
Yeah, that's it. That was it. I just said, "Am I in a weird cult?" like 7 times, and then I realized you're all frozen. I was just waving my hand, saying, "Am I in a weird cult?" Now, what do you say to a person who's thinking like that? Are you in a weird cult? It is a cult, isn't it? Aren't we in a little weird cult? We have heroes, we have villains, we have good, we have bad. We have certain clothing we wear. We have different rituals. Maybe we're just in a weird cult. I've got a orange dot on my third eye. The fact that I even call it a third eye is a culty thing.
What do you mean by cult? What are you talking about?
Just some culture, some cult that is just sort of leading us down some strange path. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it's just like
people
to me, it's almost a silly question. Everybody's getting involved in something and choosing to do something with their life. I suppose, there are things that I would call cult-like dynamics, and they certainly can enter into spiritual paths, no question about it. So there are some red flags that people should be looking for. But one should always be able to maintain their critical thought. That one should really try to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, rather than just kind of follow things without inquiring deeply into that or without a deep understanding of that. So, and if you don't, what to speak of, when these things get centered around certain charismatic personalities, there's always danger of that, sure. But if you're asking me, do I feel like I'm part of a cult? No, I don't feel like I'm part of a cult.
Mara, did you ever have that cult? Did that cult question ever come up with you?
No.
No?
No, nobody's asked me if I'm in a weird cult.
No, Mara's never lived in an ashram. She's just living her life.
Have you asked yourself that question? Like, wait a second, is this cult?
Oh yeah, of course.
You
of course.
Oh yeah, every day.
Hang out with you enough? Sure.
I'm the most unculty person ever. Come on.
Are you?
Well, yes, I'm actually, maybe I'm like.
You're the one that was like last week, like every day you're like giving prophecy and screaming it from like a mountaintop.
I'm either like the biggest cult leader or the complete like anti-cult guy, but I'm one or the other. I might flicker like one of those Cracker Jack things where you flicker it and it changes faces. Mara, did you ever think like, am I in a cult? Did that?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Was I the cult leader or was I just like sucked into the cult as well?
This is just about you and your ego.
No, I
want to know about the leader of the cult.
Yeah. I mean, a cult is okay as long as I can be the leader of it. Okay, Raghunath, I don't know why we're going on the squirrel. Let's get into the Bhagavatam. Come on.
All right, people ask this question. I'm just curious what you would say. Okay. All right. It's a fun cult. I will say that. It is a rather fun cult, if it is a cult. And we get, there's something.
Okay, enough cult talk, Raghunath. Let's move on.
We wear fun clothes. We sing songs. We eat. It's a cult with good food too.
Okay.
Let's go. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before he cited the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of our conquest, to offer respects and seeds to the Supreme Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati tamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. My regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee.
All that is troublesome to the heart.
All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. In loving service to the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Indeed.
Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 18.
Cult time. My mom thought I was in a cult.
Raghunath, please. Okay, it's like
what? These are questions that come up. I think we should just say them.
And we dealt with it and we moved on. It's like, let's go. Come on, man.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
what chapter, Mira? I'm sorry. I was thinking about my mom.
Chapter 22, Text 18.
18.
Yeah. So Sanat Kumara is speaking up now. One of the 4 Kumars, one of these little boys who's like actually an ancient sage, but he's in a boy's body, speaking up. He just glorified Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj asked a question, right? Do you remember the question?
No.
He said, I therefore ask you, how in this material world can we very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life? Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to keep going around that cycle, right? Being born again, not learning the lessons, and so on. And so then Sanat Kumar replies first by praising Prithu Maharaj and saying, the way that you're speaking is so nice, right? And that's what we spoke about yesterday. Your words are meaningful. Your words were appropriate. You used precise words. You're very you were concise in your speech, and it was very sweet the way that you spoke. And so So Sanat Kumar is smiling and he's feeling satisfaction, and now he begins to speak.
Okay. My dear King Prithu, I'm very nicely questioned by you. Such questions are beneficial for all living entities, especially because they are raised by you, who are always thinking of the good of others. I'm trying to speak like a child.
Yeah,
although you know everything, you ask such questions because that is the behavior of saintly persons. Such intelligence is befitting your position. Text 19. When there is a congregation of devotees, their discussions, questions, and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience. Thus, such a meeting is beneficial for everyone's real happiness.
Okay, so he's saying this is how we get somewhere, right? We bring together people that are focused on spiritual subject matters, dedicated their lives to spiritual advancement, and in their discussions, the questions and answers become very significant. Now the next few verses, Raghunath, Sanat Kumar is going to give like a key to understanding how to break that cycle, that we're talking about.
Sure.
What it looks like, how it actually takes place. And he's going to use one word repeatedly. So why don't we go ahead and read like a few verses and then we can discuss them.
All right, this is text 20. My dear King, you have already an inclination to glorify the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such attachment is very difficult to achieve. But when one has attained such unflinching faith in the Lord, it automatically cleanses lusty desires from the core of the heart.
Okay. So we when we did our opening invocation, we talked about all that is troublesome to the heart, right? And what
also it's also from those verses in this chapter 2 of the first canto, Srinivatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana, by regular, what is it?
By Shravanam, by hearing, by developing an attraction for hearing.
Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cleanses the desire for material sense gratification from the heart of the devotee who regularly, I'm blowing this, but regularly hears and chants his name.
Yeah, it's the translation is Sri Krishna, the Personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, the Super Soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge, right? That attraction, who's developed that urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. You know, there's certain things that we can tie to devotion. In other words, like my job. Okay, my job on its own, it may or may, let's say my job is, like, I deliver mail. Okay. In itself, that's not necessarily spiritual. It can be spiritualized, right?
Yeah.
But hearing the messages of Krishna, hearing Bhagavatam, that in itself, it's already, virtuous. It's already purely spiritual. And so it's saying that when one develops that attachment to hearing this, the heart becomes purified. All this troublesome to the heart, we were reading, right? And that's, that just goes back to what we were reading. You're born into a body.
Within that body is a entity that desires.
Yeah.
And the Bhagavatam continues with that and desires are directed through a filter of tamas and rajas. Mm-hmm. And so, by regularly hearing and chanting, that the tamas and rajas go away, and your desires are just going towards Krishna now. It's the same thing. And then, but there are desires. You're not going to get rid of the desires. That's what we were talking about yesterday. But what are we desiring? And that comes from this. We're not going to get rid of our desires, but you can refine your desires. Where's the verse we just read?
Text 20.
Yeah. He cleanses those lusty desires. When we talk about lusty desires that are filtered by passion and ignorance. Mm-hmm. And then how do you develop that? That continues on in that same section of the Bhagavatam. How do you develop that? By serving great souls. That's how we develop that attachment to hearing and chanting. You say, well, if hearing and chanting cleanses the desires in the heart, how do I develop attachment to hearing and chanting? By serving great souls. Mm. By serving great souls, great service is done. Mara, who's an example of a great soul? Who's an example of a person who served great souls and it changed their entire existence? Can you think of anybody?
No, boom! Look at that.
Okay, that was the first of the hot seats. Get ready.
So yeah, but here it says, "My dear king, you already have an inclination, right? You already have an inclination for this. Such attachment. Generally, when we talk in spiritual circles, people, when they speak of attachment, that's a bad thing, right? But here, say, no. It's not. Attachment's not the problem. The word is rati, right? It means attachment or attraction. And it's saying, you already have this attraction, King Prithu. This is a good thing, right? It's actually a difficult thing to achieve. Generally, we're attracted to other things, right?
Yeah.
And that's where this troublesome, we get that body, we're born into a body, we begin to identify with it, right? And then we get lost in that material. Again, our little nugget said, get lost in material reality. You could say, really, you get lost in the material illusion. Because you're identifying with this body, you're thinking, this is me. You begin to move in such a way to satisfy that body and the particular programming within its mind, right? And you're kind of lost. And now you're attracted to everything but God, right? Mm-hmm. You're attracted to satisfying your senses. You're attracted to whatever satisfies your senses. And you get deeper and deeper and deeper. As you say, you hit puberty, it starts to get real strong, right? And then you get caught in patterns. You feed those patterns. So this he's talking here in the next few verses. He'll use this word rati, attraction or attachment. It's something that the Bhakti-yogi consciously will cultivate an attraction for God, with the idea that that's actually the way that we're set by nature. That is actually the soul's nature, is to naturally be attracted to God, who is called Krishna. And what does Krishna mean?
It's all attractive.
It means the attractor, right? It means that's the very name Krishna means, the attractor. It means every living being. He's like the root, right? We're like the leaves. He's the center. By nature, we're attracted. When we're not attracted to God, then we're in some unnatural condition.
Isn't it nice to think like that, huh?
Yeah.
Attracted to everything else, addicted to everything else, except God.
Yeah.
And I only go to God on Sunday once a week out of like some like weird shame, guilt, or trying to do the right thing. And everything else, I'm just right. It's like it becomes like a 24/7 meditation. Am I thinking of God? It's not boring though, right? It sounds. Well, if I was to say that, it would sound really boring. I just think of God 24 hours a day.
No, but there's
incredibly boring.
Not boring at all. It has to be understood in another way, right? The one, what's happening on two levels. On one, this tradition goes into great detail about the personality of that God, but then also you're seeing how that personality plays out in everything that you see. How it plays out in this, again, how it plays out in the sun, how it plays out in the moon, how it plays out in the river, how it plays out in the mountain. You're seeing that influence play out everywhere. And in that sense, you're never disconnected. But let's read a couple more verses and see more about this attachment. Then we can discuss this idea more.
Oh, what text are we on? I spun my
21 now.
Okay. It has been conclusively decided in the scriptures after due consideration that the ultimate goal for the welfare of human society, we're about to reveal some secrets here, people, of the whole universe.
All right.
Right? This is what the whole world is tuning onto the news right now. They want to know, what is the ultimate good for society? The Bible Times is about to tell you. It has been conclusively decided in the scriptures after due consideration that the think tanks, that the ultimate goal for the welfare of human society is detachment from the bodily concept of life and increased and steadfast attachment for the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental beyond the modes of the material nature. Get on your roof, everybody, and shout that. We figured it out. We found the mysteries of the universe. Isn't it amazing? This is what everyone wants to know. We figured it out.
Why don't you just become one of these manic street preachers, Raghunath? We'll get you a soapbox.
I am a manic street preacher.
So yeah, but it's fascinating, right? What he's saying here, okay, you asked me, like, how do we attain the ultimate goal of life? Right? And then this little boy says, well, this is how it works. It's a question of just readjusting, resetting what you're attracted to, right? You're attracted to this. The attraction's not the problem. It's what you're attracted to. You have to realign that, reset that, right? So the ultimate goal for the welfare of human society is detachment from the bodily conception of life, right? That was the first thing, right? I'm born, then I begin to identify with the body. Right. So we need to adjust that. So detachment from the bodily conception of life and increased and steadfast attachment for Krishna, who is transcendental beyond the modes of material nature, right? Because it's the modes of material nature that have us confused. It's these three different influences in the material energy that confuse us. And it's saying here, Krishna is beyond that. When you attach yourself to him, you're transcending those influences. And then one more verse. Let's read 22. More about attachment.
Attachment for the Supreme can be increased by practicing bhakti or devotional service, inquiring about the personality of Godhead, applying Bhakti-yogi in life, worshiping the Yogeshwar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by hearing and chanting about the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These actions are pious in themselves.
Okay, pious in themselves, right? Again, like these are actions that aren't just connected spiritually, but by nature they're spiritual. Right?
Go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was just reading.
Oh no! Oh yeah. So let's discuss this for a bit, right?
Okay.
So Prithu, we've been reading chapters where his character is being praised, his knowledge has been praised, his behavior has been praised, his humility, his openness, his forgiveness has been praised, right? His character on all different levels has been praised. Then he greeted the four Kumars, who are these like most ancient of sages, right? Although again, in these boy bodies, he greets them properly. He shows them proper, worthy respect, and he speaks to them in a very pleasing and beneficial way. And then he places a question. So he's totally ripe, due to his character, due to his behavior. He's totally ripe to receive this answer. And he's got all his, his kingdom is there with him, right? Like all the people are there. And so he's trying to make the best of this opportunity. And so he asked him, in one sense, the most fundamental and essential question, how do we make the best of our lives? And then these sages answered. The whole thing is framed here for us, right? And the answer is this very interesting yogic idea, right? It's kind of like it kind of twists a lot of our common yogic understanding, that it's not about losing all your attachments, but it's about realigning your attachments, focusing them, instead of being attached to satisfying the body and the mind. Attach your mind and attach your desires to Krishna, who's beyond the material energy. And then in this verse, text 22, it's almost like, well, how do you do that? Well, here's how you do that, right? And these different aspects of bhakti yoga are laid out here. Practicing devotional service, inquiring about Krishna, applying bhakti yoga in life, worshiping the Yogeshwar, hearing and chanting the glories, Shravanam and Kirtanam. That there are practices, and other texts are going to go into greater detail about how to practice those.
But it's interesting how
in the way he's pointing it. Yeah,
it's interesting how a lot of people get into this through the yoga community, or like asana community, and it's here, and you can just really get lost in the body without ever getting to the spirit. And how everybody's been writing about cults of gyms and CrossFit, and I was thinking the cult of yoga as well. And why do you think in the yoga system, it's not a hot seat, it's just a question, we'll call it a hot seat, why is there so much focus on the body? Why is there focus on the spine? Why is there focus on the right?
The focus in yoga is always on the mind, but the body affects the mind, and therefore the body becomes very important.
Simplified that real easy, didn't you?
Well, I mean, that's
but it's sort of like we take this exit at the body and just stay there for 20 years or 30 years.
And one can do that. I mean, in other words, yoga will help your body, right? So like no loss, but maybe a lost opportunity, right? A lost opportunity. And that's, and again, let's go back to our nugget, right? It's like, this is the way that the real yogis think is like, you've got this human birth. Next time that if you don't learn the lessons in this life, you don't know what your next birth will be. But when you're in the human birth, what is that? Tato yoga anushasanam. Now is the time to practice yoga for real, right? Because it's like, you've got this human birth. You've got the potential to learn all the lessons now. In the animal body, good luck, but in the human body, you have the potential to learn all the lessons about life. So therefore, don't miss this opportunity and really understand what yoga is all about. Now, again, yoga is always about the mind, because it's the mind that stands between us, the soul, and the experience of the soul's true nature, right? The uncovering of the soul's true nature. It's the mind that interferes with that. So if within yoga, we're doing something bodily related, we're doing it because the body is connected to the mind. Therefore, asana becomes important. You do asana because all of those channels of energy in the body, all the different systems in the body, the digestive system, right? The endocrine system, the muscular system, the circulatory system, all of the, and the subtle, even the even more subtle channels of energy that only the yogis know about. When all these channels are flowing smoothly in the body, the mind becomes more lucid and clear. Right. And it becomes easier to learn those lessons. It becomes easier to focus the mind where it needs to be focused. But when you get to bhakti yoga, it's talking about, okay, well, how do you do that? In this verse, it just said how to do that. Bring your mind to worshiping the Yogeshwar, right? There's one being, that's beyond all of these other beings. And by focusing the mind on them, you transcend. You can do that by hearing. You can do that by chanting, meditating on a mantra, hearing wisdom from these ancient texts. Through this, you can overcome the mind, and asana can help you do that better, right? It can help you have a more lucid mind for that. That's where its value lies.
Good answer.
Thank you, Prabhu. But, I was thinking, we're talking about attachment or attraction, right? There's this idea here is that, right, okay, you're born, then you misidentify with the body, and you become attracted to things through that bodily illusion. But attraction, it is our nature to be attracted. And sometimes the analogy of a magnet is used, right? Like if the very name Krishna means the attractor, it means like he's like the magnet and we're like the iron, and by nature we're attracted. If we're not attracted, we're not situated in our nature. We somehow lost touch with our nature. But there's a nice little passage in Bhagavatam later in the 7th canto where Prahlad is speaking, little Prahlad, another boy, right? Another little kid sage, right?
Yeah.
And he's been in this position where his father is this super demoniac being, ruler, and as a little boy, excuse me, as a little boy, he's being brought before his father. He's kind of like getting trained up in school, and his father's asking him. It happens several times in this chapter. What did you learn in school today, right? And he keeps giving these bhakti-related answers.
The father doesn't want to hear it.
And the last thing the father wants, he's meant to get trained up to be like
an
atheistic evil king. And like to rule as a materialist. And so this is then he gets sent back to the teachers, and the teachers are like kind of being pressured by the father. They're very fearful of the father, and they're trying to get to the bottom of where is Prahlad getting these crazy ideas, these bhakti related devotional ideas, yogic ideas. So this is what the teachers say. They say, "Dear son Prahlad, all peace and good fortune unto you. Kindly do not speak lies. Just reply with the truth." Okay, we're going to ask you some questions, and don't lie to us. Tell us the truth. These boys you see are not like you, the other boys in the school, for they do not speak in a deviant way. How have you learned these instructions? How has your intelligence been spoiled in this way? O best of your family, has this pollution of your intelligence been brought about by you or by the enemies? We are all your teachers and are very eager to hear about this. Please tell us the truth. So like have our enemies come in and given you these crazy ideas? Right? Now here's Prahlad's answer. I'm going to read about 4 or 5 verses. He says, this little boy, I think he's 7 years old at the time. And this is his first response, right? He says, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by diluting the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously heard of it from authoritative sources." So he's like, your whole conception of friends and enemies, I don't relate to that at all. I've heard about this, and now I'm seeing you guys talking about it. He says, when the Supreme Lord is pleased with a living entity because of their devotional service, one becomes a pundit and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and themselves. Intelligently, they then think, every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Persons who always think in terms of enemy and friend are unable to ascertain the supersoul within themselves, God within their own hearts. Not to speak of them, even such exalted persons as Lord Brahma, who are fully conversant with the Vedic literature, are sometimes bewildered in following the principles of devotional service. The same Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's created this situation, has certainly given me the intelligence to take the side of your so-called enemy. So you see the devotees of God as your enemy, and you think they came in and polluted my mind. I'm telling you, God from within my heart is bringing me to these thoughts, right? And then he says this, and this is the verse I wanted to get to. He says, "O teachers, as iron attracted by a magnetic stone moves automatically toward the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his will, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand. Thus, I have no independence." Right? This is my nature. Like iron to a magnet, snap. Right? That's how it works. When we're situated, when we're not bewildered by illusion, when we're not confused by ideas of friends and enemy, when we're not struggling in this world trying to exploit its resources for material enjoyment, then boom, we'll feel that attraction in the most beautiful, devotional, spiritual, esoterically, like fully satisfying, loving way. We'll feel that connection, that attraction. And it's only because we're out of touch with our nature that we don't feel it.
I like it.
There's yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying the material, we're going to get attached to something. And we've been like in lifetimes, if decades, if not lifetimes, if not like centuries of attachment to matter.
Right.
Everything. Attachment to foods and addictive substances and bodily conceptions and types of enjoyment in this material world. And so it seems like they're normal. And it seems like hearing and chanting, that's abnormal. I can't focus on chanting. It's too difficult. My mind is all over the place. We have to redevelop the original attachment. That original attachment leads to all auspiciousness. It leads to a type of peace, a type of happiness, a type of like clarity of mind, lucidity in our vision, great choices one after another. But I've just been attached to matter so long that I think that is normal. Interesting, huh?
And the magnet is such a great analogy for this, because like you said, redevelop this attraction. In one sense, you could say that, but you could also say it's not even really a sense of redeveloping, right? It's kind of like uncovering. It's there all along.
Yeah.
And so the analogy is used like, a magnet, by nature, iron is attracted to it. But if the magnet is dirty, if it's covered with mud or if it's rusty, right, then there's no attraction. Yeah. But if you polish that iron, it clear it of the rust and so on. And what is the rust or what is the mud? That's the upadis, the false identification that we have. Yeah, so once that becomes clear, the attraction is natural.
So and that's why I like the Vedic paradigm, which is everyone's a spiritual person, and there's some religious paths and some rituals and meditational practices, not to convert you to a different, it's already within us. It's to reawaken us. It's to break the attachment to matter, make the attachment to spirit. And in Bhakti Yoga, we just start to really refine and focus in on the personality of spirit.
The Prabhupada gives a great commentary to that verse that I read. I'll read it again.
Tell me.
Prahlad says, as iron attracted by a magnetic stone moves automatically toward the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his will, by God within the heart, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand. Thus I have no independence. So here's the commentary. Prabhupada writes, for iron to be attracted by a magnet is natural. Similarly, for all living entities to be attracted toward Krishna is natural, and therefore the Lord's real name is Krishna, meaning he who attracts everyone and everything. The typical examples of such attraction are found in Vrindavan. So now he takes it to the esoteric side, right? Okay. Now we hear about Vrindavan. That means where the intimate love for God exists, right? One can love God with awe and reverence, but when you love Krishna, particularly like the residents of Vrindavan, it means you kind of forget that he's God, and your attraction has this intensity that we see reflected in this world as say love, romantic love, or the love and friendship and so on. Here in Vrindavan, we're seeing it in its original form for the soul to God in different varieties. So he says, the typical examples of such attraction are found in Vrindavan, where everything and everyone is attracted by Krishna. The elderly persons, like Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi, those are Krishna's
mother and father.
The friends like Sridham, Sudam, and other cowherd boys. The gopis like Srimati Radharani and her associates. Right? So those are three different varieties of love: parental love, love of friendship, of romantic love. And then he says, and even the birds, beasts, cows, and calves are attracted. The flowers and fruits in the gardens are attracted. The waves of the Yamuna River are attracted, and the land, sky, trees, plants, animals, and all other living beings are attracted by Krishna. This is the natural situation of everything in Vrindavan. Just contrary to the affairs of Vrindavan is the material world. It's a reflection of it, right? But it's back, but like a reflection, it looks like something, but it's backwards. Here we see parental love. Here we see romantic love. Here we see, animals and flowers and so. It almost looks like it, but because it's a reflection, it's backwards, right? So he says, just contrary to the affairs of Vrindavan is the material world, where no one is attracted by Krishna and everyone is attracted by Maya, by illusion. This is the difference between the spiritual and the material worlds. Hiranyakashipu, that was Prahlad's father, who who was in the material world, was attracted by women and money, whereas Prahlad Maharaj, being in his natural position, was attracted by Krishna. In replying to Hiranyakashipu's question about why Prahlad had a deviant view, Prahlad said that his view was not deviant, for the natural position of everyone is to be attracted to Krishna. Hiranyakashipu found this view deviant. Prahlad said, because of being unnaturally unattracted by Krishna, Hiranyakashipu therefore needed purification. As soon as one is purified of material contamination, they're again attracted by Krishna. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse, Sarvopati Vinir Muktam, Tat Parat Vena Nirmalam. Sarvopati Vinir Muktam. When one gives up all the upadis, sarva upadis, when one lets go of all their false sense of identification, then bhakti naturally rises, that attraction naturally rises. In the material world, everyone is contaminated by the dirt of sense gratification and is acting according to different designations. Sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a beast, sometimes as a demigod or tree, and so on. We're going through so many different forms. Right? One must be cleansed of all these designations. Then one will be naturally attracted to Krishna. The bhakti process purifies the living entity of all unnatural attractions. When one is purified, then they are attracted by Krishna and begin to serve Krishna instead of serving illusion. That is the natural position.
Kaustubha, this reminds me of you, me, Paramananda, when we were just kids hanging out on the Lower East Side. We see these, everybody was addicted to heroin at that time. And you see these people, it's as if they are like, and they're like, they look dressed very normally, but they look like they haven't slept in days. And they're standing up and they're like nodding out. And we think, why would they do this to themselves? Why would nice people do this to themselves? Why would they be attracted to this? In their mind, they're thinking this is the best thing ever. This is wonderful. But we're seeing it dismantling their life, right? It's so attractive. When a person gets attracted to Krishna, they're thinking this is so joyful, so fulfilling, so deep. And we're thinking, why would people not be attracted to Krishna? This is so uplifting. It brings us higher. It creates all auspiciousness. It creates all good qualities. What's that verse? It creates all good qualities in the hearts of men and people in general. And we see the attachment to matter as like chipping away at our very being, breaking us down. So I use that extreme analogy, but the same thing is true. One cannot understand the other. It seems like so foreign. And they're thinking, why are these people not attached to this? This is a great thing. Look at me. I'm standing here in great bliss.
Right.
Mara,
takeaways.
What do you got for us?
You got some good stuff. Refine your desires.
Refine them.
The soul is naturally attracted to God.
Naturally.
Realign your attachments.
Realign.
Desire Krishna.
Simple, but good. I'd wear that shirt.
Detach from the body and attach yourself to Krishna.
Okay. Detach from the body.
Attach yourself. To Krishna.
Yeah. Okay.
Focus on the body to still the mind.
Okay.
Still the mind. Yep.
Get magnetized to Krishna. Uncover our original attachment.
There you go.
Dig it up.
And long live the squirrel cult.
Long live the squirrel cult.
Squirrel cult.
The cult of squirrel. Patrick Hefferman said yesterday, he said, you know what? I love being on Zoom. I'm paraphrasing this, Patrick. I love being on Zoom. These are like my people. I feel so much better when I wake up and just sit there on Zoom with you guys in the morning. If you're one of the others out there listening, join our Zoom cult. There's various rituals to enter our cult, and you can enter them. But you got to get the codes for Mara. Email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. David Houseworth's friend, you are in our cult now. You cannot get out at this point. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks for all the people I didn't say good morning to. Thanks for all the people that support us via Patreon. And people who go to those Patreon classes that we offer. And there's like literally vaults of great stuff we have on Patreon for Patreon members. Classes, workshops, etc., from Ayurveda to yoga, to herbology, to everything. We've got great classes coming. If you like what we're doing, you want to support us, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. That's how we support ourselves. We are a community supported podcast. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody this weekend at the 4th of July bash at Super Soul Farm. This is special when we get the others and the Zoomers together and we just hang with our family. And it really feels like an incredible community we have. Hands in the air, everybody. It's time to dance. I know it's only 7 o'clock in the morning, but shouldn't we just be dancing on a regular basis? I wish I got dance lessons because this is all I got right here. This is all I got. I've got no fancy hand motions.